So the storage room is in disarray. At this point, it's supposed to be in disarray. And Kate Sith appears and begins to tell us that someone basically shot up the place. But then he's interrupted by Dio.
He comes out of nowhere.
It's like I told you. Someone went on a rampage. And now...
I'll take it from here.
And he introduces himself again, even though he's already done that.
I am Dio.
And then he again welcomes us to his paradise.
As park director, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this, our gilded paradise.
And he's flexing over all of this. And then he recognizes Cloud.
We meet again, young man. If you'd like to go another round, I'm always game.
Seriously?
And then he begins explaining like what just happened and why we're there.
A director from head office was attending a Coliseum match earlier when their security detail was gunned down. Both guests and staff were caught in the crossfire.
And that's when we do, to your point, see a bunch of tarps over bodies where like limbs are hanging out. So clearly these are the bodies of people who have died. And I will say, this scene is a total tone kerfuffle to me.
Yes, I have problems.
So I actually like Dio, but I remember as I watched Dio talk to us in this scene, I was like emotionally confused because it seemed like the developers could not land on a tone. Like Dio is a joke just visually already, right? Like he's a joke of a human. He's this hairy bodybuilder in small shorts with a cape, right?
Right.
And he's flexing as he talks about this guy with a gun for an arm who killed all these people.
Murdering all these dead bodies.
Who are under tarps. The bodies are all around us and he's like, yeah, like flexing his muscles and stuff. Then I'm
It
just
was a
like,
guy with a gun for an arm.
Right.
Check out these guns.
And he's like, check out these guns. And
yeah, it was basically that. I might as well have said that line, like honestly.
yeah, he's like, this is the right to bear arms right here.
Right, like
As he's flexing his pecs. This is so good.
Ernest, it was basically your dad jokes surrounded by dead bodies. Like what?
I loved it. It was so good.
You love everything.
That's a fair critique, but I loved it. But the real thing I loved was the juxtaposition of like, Dio was like, I'm the director of whatever. And then he talks about how they tried to shoot at the other director, like you said, who you know is Palmer. And then like just in your mind, you're putting the juxtaposition of like Dio versus the other one. These are two directors. They couldn't be farther from polar opposite of each other.
I didn't even think about that. That is interesting. I was just too busy being super confused about, am I supposed to laugh?
Oh, I was laughing.
And think Dio is funny? Or am I supposed to feel bad for these innocent people who were killed? Or am I supposed to be disgusted that Dio is so nonchalant about what happened? Like,
It was so good though.
I did not know what the developers wanted me to think or feel. I feel like they needed to pick a lane. And
I agree with Jolie.
And if they did pick a lane, I didn't catch where it was. I could not.
It was the Dio lane 100%. They picked Dio's lane. Like, yes, you saw the people under the tarps, but like, there wasn't blood everywhere. There wasn't guts. Like, yes.
But the idea is that people died, Ernest. Like,
well, yeah.
They're trying to set it up like
it's supposed to be higher stakes.
Yeah.
The Shinra troopers had it coming, so that wasn't a problem.
Well, they're stormtroopers, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
But the innocence, yes, I felt bad for them for about 2 seconds until he did his next, flex, and then moved on.
that's so disregarding of human life in their own terms.
I don't have a problem with this because I have in my notes, I say this game is a freaking cartoon, right? Because
It is.
Dio is here doing these poses over these dead bodies under tarps.
Yeah.
But it's like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has had many tone shifts. At the end of chapter 5, the captain of the ship is like murdering rogue people. Everyone's freaking out. Yuffie's like, don't shoot me, all this stuff. And then they go to Coast Still Soul. But that would be like if the captain of the ship started shooting these rogue guys. It's really freaky, tense stuff. And then Dio just like, hey, like, what's going on in here? Like crazy. It kind of has that.
Yeah, it's true.
It doesn't know what it is. So I agree with Jolie.
But even a cartoon knows.
But the game is setting up stakes. Like Barrett is in the lobby of Gold Saucer. He sees the rope-toted figure. He sees the gun arm. He goes after him. Then we see the part where Barrett kind of witnesses the aftermath in the elevator. And it's starting to get kind of serious tone. And it just goes right out the window when Dio's there.
Right.
Yeah.
But even when Dio's in the room, They like do a close up on like a guest's arm hanging out of the tarp.
Yes.
And Tifa's like, that's terrible. And Dio's like, like, I'm just like, what is happening? What am I supposed to feel?
Good.
I don't.
It's just so good.
The thing is, Dio is funny, but
Right.
I don't know if I can laugh at Dio flexing when there's like if it was like a trooper's arm or leg or like a trooper boot coming, maybe.
Yeah.
But the idea is like innocent people, like not troopers. Troopers are a dime a dozen in like every movie, game, whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was weird, but I like that Ernest just had fun.
I do too, actually.
And then to play up on top of that was the dialogue that Cloud had with him, where like Dio was like, he had already had it in his mind that Barrett was the one that did it.
Barrett did it.
Because Barrett had the gun arm, right?
It was a man with a gun grafted to one arm. And that's when it hit me. I knew this man. He was one of several fugitives we were warned to be on the lookout for. Nigh as tall and muscular as I, yet brash and brazen, with an ever-present scowl that smolders behind his sunglasses and a gun for an arm.
And even pulls out the wanted poster.
Yeah, but then Cloud points at the camera up in the corner that's been shot out. He's like, no, it couldn't have been Barrett, because if he would have been the one to do it, he would have wanted it broadcast everywhere.
Yeah, I like that.
If he really did kill all these people, he would have had a damn good reason. One that he'd want the world to know about. He'd have made sure you had the footage. Trust me.
And Dio's like flexing again. He's like, yes, I understand, because he's a showman, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing just ties together,
Right.
but in a very morbid way.
But like there's also the camera thing makes sense because in Remake,
He does that.
there were moments where Barrett tried to be broadcast publicly while he was doing something anti-Shinra-esque, right?
Yeah.
They want to turn this into a spectacle? Then I say let's give them one. Let's take down Shinra's big-ass neck in front of everybody.
So like that makes sense to me, but
Yeah.
I wish I'd taken it like you, Ernest. And as I watched it the second time, it was more on the funny,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. Like,
Switching
just-
topics a little bit, but that wanted poster is really important because at the very beginning of the game, Palmer is passing those out, right? At the beginning of the chapter.
So he got one from Palmer.
And then he got one from Palmer, and then he's showing like, hey, look, this is your guy. You guys are wanted criminals. It's got to be Barrett. Like, Barrett's the type of person
Exactly.
with a gun arm. He would do this. And they're all like, no, it wouldn't be him.
Now wait a minute. Barrett might have a temper, but he'd never do this.
Which ties into the end of the chapter, too, with the wanted posters. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't be him, because if it was, he would have wanted a show.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
not because he's not that kind of person. He's not an animal. He doesn't murder innocent people. But because if it was, he would have wanted that camera on so that he could like just like the craziness of that scene is like, that is a Dio level over the top. That's what that is.
He is so over the top. And I actually like that he's over the top because it's ridiculous and absurd and hilarious.
It's yes.
But when there's like tons of dead bodies around him and he's like flexing, I did not know what to do.
Yeah.
There's a phrase for show business for this, right? The show must go on.
Sure.
Kind of.
And there it is.
But it doesn't go on backstage. You're not like flexing backstage while there's bodies around. That's not the same. Like
That's true. But
Don't underestimate Dio's dedication to his craft.
I was like, Dio's always in show mode.
Dio's a showman all the time. Okay.
Dio's in show mode all the time. From the minute he wakes up
Maybe so.
till he goes to bed, he's in show mode.